Hey, everybody. Super excited to chat with you today. We have some representatives from the native mobile team at DQ building out Axe DevTools Mobile. We wanted to chat with you today about Global Accessibility Awareness Day and share some of the journeys that brought us here today. First, let's do a round of introductions. My name is Kim. I am the native mobile team lead. I have an iOS background and have been coding for over 9 years. Paul?
Hi, I am from California. I have an Android background. I'm a developer and I am new here.
Excellent. Thank you. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the product owner for Axe DevTools Mobile. I've been at DQ for 3 years and I've been coding since I graduated from college and was working full time at DQ.
Yay. Devanshu?
All right. Hey, I am Devanshu, and I am one of the Android developers with DQ, and I have been with DQ for more than 2.5 years. So, you know,
Very nice. And Patrick?
Hey, I'm Patrick. I'm an Android developer. I've been doing this for about 5 years, and like Paul, I'm pretty new here at DQ, but yeah, that's me.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. So just wanted to highlight on why digital accessibility is important. I feel like it's important to level the playing field for people with disabilities who rely on assistive technology or features within the operating system to achieve basic tasks that the majority of us take for granted. Accessibility in the mobile space has gotten quite the highlight recently with the 2020 pandemic. Many services were halted, goods that people required to live became incredibly harder to access, and then with a mobile device that's designed to fit in your pocket and be with you anywhere you go, why has accessibility been left out of the conversation for so long? If you feel the same way, make sure your team is doing what you can do to include accessibility in your product. 2.4 trillion US dollars in annual retail sales comes from mobile devices. Within that, the disability community touches about 1.8 trillion US dollars, and that's only e-commerce. What about financial, insurance, healthcare, business, and more? The list is endless. Accessibility matters. Your business could depend on it. So we have some questions for the group. The first question, how did you get into this career? And how would you recommend others do it? Devanshu, let's start with you.
yeah, sure. So, I mean, very honestly, I mean, it all started with the Axe Android library. I was talking to my team lead, when I was not here, but my present team lead, he was, we worked earlier together, and then he told me what work they do at DQ. And then I was actually really amazed because before joining DQ, I just knew that, okay, there is something, in Android, a property called content description, and that was all accessibility meant for me. Uh, but moving forward, when I joined DQ, it was, a whole big box of knowledge that I had to, learn, and then I had to, feel or empathize, the accessibility, the need of accessibility. So, that's how I came into that field. But, every day of it, every minute of it, I love it because, it's something which I'm doing that makes me happy.
Beautiful. Patrick, you're next.
Yeah, so I guess kind of what got me into accessibility was I fell into a little bit of the material design rabbit hole. So that started me on trying to find ways to make apps more usable and apps easier for your general user. And in a lot of the material design concepts, they were talking about how it makes things more accessible. So I got a little bit interested in how that plays into things and why that matters, which led me to eventually kind of digging into it a bit more and, similar to Devanshu, talk to someone here and heard that at DQ we were making a accessibility testing software, and that sounded very interesting to me, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about that and learn about how to make apps more usable, not just for people who can easily use an Android device with sight and without a need for help in interacting with the app, but just in general, making apps easier to use is something I'm definitely very interested in. So that's kind of what landed me here.
Very good. Paul.
Well, really, the sum of my work has been kind of interested in accessibility. I am deaf, so I need things to be accessible. Anyways, so on Twitter, the usability of Twitter for their spaces, or there's like that sound feature that they just added, and I cannot participate in that. I'm not able to. I mean, they do provide captions, but I can't use my voice, and I can't express anything. So I was developing an app that was text to speech, and curious how it would be used or be able to function on Twitter. And it is limiting because it's like you could use the text to speech, but you don't always know who's talking. Then today, with social media on all our phones, typically, there's a video, you post it really quickly. No one really thinks to add captions. And then, me and other deaf people are stuck. And so it's important for me to educate the Twitter community that there needs to be captions on their videos. And that's kind of how I fell into DQ. I found that call on Twitter, and that's how I kind of fell to where I am now.
Very good. The power of social media, for sure. Rachel, you're up.
Awesome. I was studying computer science at the University of Michigan, and I got the opportunity to be a part of a project team that was building an Android application for indoor navigation in one of the buildings on campus, specifically focusing on people with visual disabilities. And that's how I kind of fell into and discovered the entire world of accessibility. And that was super like a pivot point in my life, because at that time, while I was in college studying computer science, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, the field of software development is so huge, and so many different avenues you could go down. So joining that team really helped me find my passion and find a career that I can be passionate about and make an actual difference in the world. And I found my way to DQ via some networking connections, via the professor that I worked with on that team. And now I'm here and very happy to be here.
Awesome. It's so wild to me how everyone has a very different path into accessibility. But the passion, and I think this goes for all of DQ, but the passion for accessibility and making a difference is really what's brought us here together. So love that. Any other closing thoughts before we jump to question number 2? Okay. What tips can you give everyone to make accessibility difference in the mobile space? Rachel, let's start with you.
Yeah. My advice for making a difference in accessibility in the mobile space is, if you are a mobile developer, just doing your own research and learning about accessibility and being an advocate for it, that really makes a big difference. Everyone has to start somewhere, and everyone has to learn. So it's even you as one individual player can really make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Patrick.
Yeah, so kind of along the same lines, I think going and doing a lot of research is a really good way to start. There's plenty of resources out there. And a really easy one would be to read through the WCAG documents or through Material Design, but also I think it's important to when you're using applications, try to find things that you also don't enjoy about those applications. Say, for example, there's a part of the app that's very confusing to you when you're interacting with it. Take a mental note of those kinds of things, and when you're going to develop, or you're going to say you're a QA tester and you're going to test an app, see if your apps that you're working with do those same things, commit those same sins, and now you have a arsenal of knowledge to go and make those problems go away. So if there's something that you know that is typically inaccessible in apps that you use, you can know not to do that when you go and implement those same features.
Absolutely. Paul.
I had completely lost my train of thought, but I was actually thinking of like research, like one mentioned. I have not done much research until I actually got into this field. Like I started doing research and testing, like on this feature that I was speaking about, the Speak Back feature. I've only used it once, and it has captions. I thought it was really neat. But I went in there and I was trying to play around with it, and then my team taught me a lot about it as well. So it really does make a difference.
Awesome. Yeah, I know from my perspective, especially, knowledge sharing has been huge for this team, and in the accessibility space as well. Technology is changing every single day. So definitely a need to help keep us all up to date. Devanshu, let's jump to you.
All right. So in my opinion, it's about, first of all, caring. Caring and be inclusive of everyone. I mean, my app, for example, if I have an app, can it be used by everyone? By everyone, I mean, 80 users or things like that. And moreover, it's not about just the 80 or the accessibility technology like TalkBack or Switch Access. It's more about spreading the joy of technology. Social media, for example, people want to use it, they use it. Why not everyone should use it? That's the thought process that should be behind it. I have a little story. Actually, I have two stories. If you folks don't mind, I have two stories. So the first story is very recent. I was at CVS, and this young gentleman, he was on a wheelchair, and I was in one of the aisles, and he was kind of fast on his wheelchair, and I kind of started a conversation with him, and I was wearing the same t-shirt, accessibility for good, and this guy, he was very interested, and he said, oh, you work for an accessibility organization? And I said yes. And he said, it's just great if people start caring about these things. It's not that people have to advocate for it. Each and everyone should at least think about it. If with simple applications, our day-to-day being software engineers, we have to be inclusive of everyone. I mean, we have to take care of the people who will be using our application using an accessibility technology. And the other story that I have is of my trip back in India. While I was, visiting India to my home, I got a bunch of people to work with, or actually teach them the accessibility. Different regions, actually, in this whole world, different regions have different perspective of accessibility. In some regions or in some countries, accessibility just means that blue color logo on airports or in parking lots and etc. Maximum of the people don't even know that one can use a phone using a talkback or voiceover in case of Apple phones. And that was a kind of a shock to me, because, me working in an accessibility company, I felt responsible. I felt responsible to teach people, and if I teach 10 people, maybe they'll go teach 10 more people, and that way many more people will know how someone who cannot see can use a mobile application. As Kim said, in this recent pandemic, the mobile application as well as the websites were, I mean, the usage was very high. I mean, due to the lockdown, etc., no one could go to banks. I mean, and it's really difficult to access the banks when the callback or the callback time is very huge for the service lines. But at the same time, if there is a mobile application, the thing can be done pretty fast. Getting checks or transferring money, etc. Everything. Now, this is just a basic example of day-to-day life. So that's what I thought. Everyone should at least know about this. I mean, everyone should at least know that a common thing, a mobile phone in today's world has, I mean, in this time has become so common, right? In India, there is a huge user base of Android. I mean, people have all versions of Android with them, because it's cheap. And the point that, if a person is on a wheelchair and he has a phone attached to it, will he be able to use it? Or how can he even use it? I mean, that's the line of thinking that the developers should take. And also it becomes a responsibility to spread the knowledge and teach people how can one use TalkBack, or how can one use switch access and things like that. Thanks for hearing me out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's so insightful when you see real world experience and yeah, see everything that that people are experiencing firsthand. It really is puts things in perspective. Sorry, a little taken aback here.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of broke my heart. I mean, the things that I saw, it's just that people should care. I mean, that's all from where it will start. I mean, be inclusive. That's the basic starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when we were talking about this before we jumped on this meeting and hit record, it was brought up that anything that you do today as you learn will be better than what it was yesterday. Anything you do to the product to make it more inclusive will be better than what you had yesterday. And those little things really do add up and make a huge difference for somebody who relies on assistive technology or some other form of accessibility to access your product and make it better for somebody. Any other thoughts on this question before we jump to the closing?
Yeah, Paul here. So I was thinking about captions. So, captions are typically on TVs, on videos. So if you've noticed that there's a video with no captions, you should, remind those companies and tell them, hey, there should be captions. So that way it'll make them realize like it is essential versus just me always having to, remind people. It would be great if everyone can do it. That'll save my time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It really does take a village. If you see something that would make something easier for somebody else, just say something. Take 2 seconds out of your day. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Thank you for your amazing work in making the mobile space more inclusive. And thank you for those listening for your interest in the accessibility space. I hope to see mobile accessibility continue to grow, make a difference, and until next time.